happy Monday. I hope you all had a lovely weekend. Now, today's topic, are you clear on what happiness means to you? It's kind of an odd question, don't you think? Because surely we know what it feels like to be happy. I don't know. Some people do, some people don't. And this is where I don't ever like to assume, because there are some people that are maybe in the middle as well. If I asked you to define what happiness means to you, could you do that? Could you say it in one sentence? And if you're watching this and you're thinking about it, if you want to share, I really do welcome your comments as well, because what happiness looks like to you could be different to what it looks like to somebody else. And that's okay, all right? Because it's not a one size fits all. There's not one way to be happy. There's millions and millions and millions of ways. And this is also not about being happy 24/7, because that is impossible. We live in a world where there are other people, and there are going to be times when we're not happy, and that is okay. All right. It's not about ignoring things either. It's about having that different perspective, so that for the majority of time, at least for me, happiness is feeling good for no particular reason for the majority of the time. And even when things do happen, being able to see a different perspective. Now, of course, that's not a black and white blanket rule. There's lots of grey when it comes to life and it comes to emotions, and that is a good thing. So, what does happiness mean to you? You're very welcome to share if you feel like it. Or maybe do you feel like you're chasing happiness? You know, you kind of have an idea of what it is, but never really sat down and asked it, because it's not really a question that we sit down and ask ourselves, okay? So do you feel like maybe you are chasing it but never quite getting there? You know, are you truly happy, or have you just settled? And that might be a little bit of a hard question to hear. Something that would be a good indicator of that is, well, I'm not miserable. Sometimes we can justify how we are because we have been feeling or living or just going through life in a certain way, and it becomes our norm. To feel meh becomes normal, okay? To feel like we're constantly treading water becomes normal. And with the whole busyness of life as well, we can get into those ruts. All right, this is sounding really boring and depressing, isn't it? Not boring, boring's the wrong word. It's sounding quite depressing. But I really want you guys to have an honest look at your life and where you are and how happy you are in your life, because how we feel matters not just to us, it matters to other people as well. We have a ripple effect. Whether we think we influence people or not, we have this ripple. How we feel, how we show up, what we say, what we do, what we don't do, everything has a ripple, okay? So what if there was more happy to be had in your life? What if? Because for me, I feel like life is meant to be enjoyed. We're meant to be here to experience things and to get as much enjoyment as possible, learn and grow and interact, all right, and spread all of that as well. Now, like I said before in the beginning, happiness isn't a one-size-fits-all destination. And I'm going to talk more about that and also give you guys some tools so that if you are feeling like you are in a little bit of a rut, then if you want to, this might help you get out of that rut, okay? So what happiness looks like for you could be very different to what it looks like to me, to your family, to your children, to your work colleagues, to your friends. Everyone has an individual definition of what happiness means for them. And that's all that matters, okay? So I want you guys to really think about it. What does happiness mean to you? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And whilst it might seem a little silly to define happiness like this, or even set, a happiness goal, if you don't, it's kind of like you're setting out on a road trip and you haven't chosen the destination. So if you don't know where you're heading, you're just going to keep driving in circles and you're never actually going to arrive anywhere. Okay. And the good news about this goal, it's not like other goals. It's quite simple and it can be quite fun. All right. Okay. So let's get into how to get clear on what your happiness goal or vision or idea is. All right. Many people, they just assume that happiness will just happen one day. They'll wake up, boom, life is perfect. But happiness isn't something that we find. It's something that we define, and it is something that we create. And you guys are in control of what you create in your life. You have a say in it, okay? So the first step in defining what that happiness goal or ideal looks like, start really broad, all right? Really broad. You don't have to map out every single detail, because that's when we try to get too into it and how is this going to happen and where and why and who and what, that can start to become feeling really overwhelming. All right. So you just need to start really broad, just enough for it to feel good. And I want you to focus on how it feels. Okay. What would happiness feel like in your daily life? Would it feel peaceful, content, calm, fulfilling, happy? Would it feel free? Would it feel playful? Would it feel exciting? What does happiness feel like in your daily life? What would happiness feel like in your daily life? And you can just write it down. If you're not big on writing, you can just think about it and focus on them in your mind. That's perfectly fine as well. So then once you've focused on, and we're just focusing on the feelings, okay, how would it feel? From there, if you were then to describe your ideal happy day, what would it include? Is there lots of laughter? Are there deep conversations around topics that you are passionate about? Are you being creative? Are you part of a project? Are you spending time in nature? Okay, what sort of things would be included in your ideal happy day? And then we're going to go a little bit more specific, but we're not going to complicate it. Okay. All right. So once you've done that, if you're still in that good feeling, let's go a little bit deeper. Okay. If this next bit starts to make you not feel great, then that's where you're going to stop with that big overall broad perspective of it. Okay. If it's feeling good to go deeper, then go deeper with me. So we've talked about what it would feel like. We've talked about what it would include. So now, what kind of people do you want to spend time with? And you don't have to be specific, naming, Mary, Bob, Jane, and Harry. You don't have to be specific like that. What I'm talking about here is the kind of people you want to spend time with. Are they happy people? Are they caring, kind, considerate? They're thoughtful, they're fun. Okay, they're open-minded. So this is where you can write down a few words of the type of people that you want to spend time with. And whether you work for yourself, you have your own business, or you work in an office, how do you want to feel in your work? Do you want to feel like you are valued, appreciated, that you are making a contribution, you're making a difference? All right, so how do you want to feel in your work? And what daily habits would make you feel happier? Is it maybe spending some time, you go for a walk each day, even if it's 10 minutes, eating healthier food, going to the gym, going to yoga? What daily habits would make you feel happier? Listening to a podcast, reading a book, all of these sorts of things. And then instead of saying, I want to be happy, you can say things like, I want to spend more time with people who uplift me. I want to do work that excites me. So once you've gotten a better idea of what it is that your happiness looks like, then it's going to be easier to create these statements, okay? I want to feel calm and at peace in my daily routine. All right. Now, the more you do this, just think of it like tuning a radio. If you're too vague, you're just going to get static. But if you fine tune it slightly, you're going to find that perfect station that plays exactly what you want to hear. All right. And then knowing what you guys know about the universal laws, when you are sending out that frequency that feels good, so make sure you only go as far as what feels good, then that's what you're sending out. The law of vibration, everything is vibrating. That's what you're sending out. The law of attraction has to send you things that match that vibration. All right. So you're going to bring things into your life that perpetuate that happy, good feeling. Okay. And then the third step, which is probably the most important step in this little process, is to recognize when you are overcomplicating things. Okay, so watch out for these signs that you're getting too caught up in the details. If you get too caught up in the details, you start to lower your vibration. Okay, it will start feeling overwhelming instead of inspiring. If you start getting stuck thinking about how it will happen instead of what you want, then that's when you're getting too much into the detail. You're overcomplicating it. Okay, this is all about that feel good, because when you feel good and you sort of surrender the how to the universe, the how is going to come to you matching the vibration. So if you're feeling overwhelming, that's the vibration you're sending out. You're going to get stuff that's going to perpetuate that overwhelming feeling. So this is about recognizing, oh, starting to feel overwhelmed. I'm getting too much into the how it's going to work. If you start doubting whether it's even possible, that's just little doubts. And look, it's normal. Little doubts can come in. This is about awareness and going, oh, hang on a minute. I'm starting to doubt. I'm starting to overthink. I'm starting to get too into the detail. It doesn't feel good. So I'm going to stop and I'm back up a few steps. Okay, because it was all about your feeling. All right. I hope this is making sense. If you've got questions, please let me know. All right. So let me just wrap this up again. And I know I've said this, but it's so important. When you are dreaming about your happiness, you only go as detailed as it feels good. Okay? The how isn't your job. It's not your job. To figure out the how is not your job. So the first step is just getting clear on what happiness looks like and feels like. So go back and listen to those 3 steps that I just talked about. Getting that clear, only go as deep as what feels good. All right, that is so important. And instead of worrying about the how, when you're just in that feel good vibration, the universe will bring you things to match that vibration. You are going to meet the right people. You are going to get the perfect job. You are going to have those, those rendezvous that are just, oh my gosh, this is such perfect timing. You'll hear yourself saying like things like that, right place, right time. That's so funny. I was just thinking about this and boom, here you are. These things will start to show up. Okay. All you need to do is get clear on how you want to feel and how your happiness looks. You don't have to go long term. Start with now, because now is actually all we ever have. How we feel now influences what's coming for us. So just start with today. How do you want today to look? How do you want to feel today? Okay. Now, this can be, I know, the hardest part to get your head around, because we're conditioned to feel based on what's happening. Okay. We're conditioned to also think that we have to have the thing show up first, have the condition, have the people, have the event, have the whatever to be there first, then we get to feel good. It's actually the opposite way around, which is really quite cool, because we're not in control of the conditions. We are in control on how we feel, what we think, what we do, what we don't do. Okay, so we need to feel good first. And then we hand it over to the law of attraction to bring us those people, the circumstances, the events, the conversations that then perpetuate that good feeling. And then one day you'll wake up and you realize that you've manifested that happiness goal. Okay. Very quickly, I want to share a story with you about when I was, so this is my second marriage. And anyone who's gone through a divorce knows it's not great. Okay. It's not a great time in anyone's life. When that happened to me, this is quite a long time ago, before children as well, I was able to get very clear around what I wanted, because one of probably the biggest reason that we did get divorced was because I wanted to have children and he didn't. He was a little bit older. He already had a child. It was one day on the cards, but then when one day came, things had changed. And that's okay. Things change. He didn't want kids. I really wanted kids. And I was still only young. I was 31 at that time. So imagining the next, 50 years, God willing, of my life having settled for something that I knew I really would be unhappy about, I didn't want to do that to either of us. Okay. So I prioritized my happiness in that moment as well, because I knew that if it came down to it, I would just be completely miserable in that marriage. I would start to resent him. I would be angry. He would be angry. We would grow apart eventually, so the future would not be happy for either of us. So it was one of the hardest moments, or one of the hardest things I had to do in my life, was to make that decision to, no, we need to separate. What it did, though, in the time afterwards, it gave me time to really think about, well, what do I want my life to look like? And at that point, all I knew is that I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have a husband who supported us. I wanted to be able to stay home and look after the children. I didn't want to just have my babies and then go straight back to work. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mum. That was really important to me. So I knew crystal clear what I wanted that to look like. Now, I had no idea how that was going to happen. Being by myself scared the bejesus out of me. The whole, where am I going to meet anyone? I don't want to go to clubs. I don't want to do dating apps, all of this stuff. It was really, really scary. However, I didn't focus on that. I focused on what it was that I actually wanted in my life. And this was even before I knew anything about the law of attraction, okay? So I was very clear on that one aspect around family. And that's exactly what I had, or I have now, I should say. I'm still with Matt. So that's exactly what happened. And it turned out, I met Matt too early in the whole, too soon after the divorce. And I said to him, no, I'm not interested, not looking to meet anyone. But he came into my world because I was very clear on what I wanted. And I had zero resistance about meeting someone, because I didn't want to meet someone. So I didn't have that whole, how am I going to meet someone? How am I going to make this happen sort of thing going on? I was in a really good place. Okay. And I was very clear. And so that helped. He just came into my life that way. And so this is what is possible, and if we all reflect, I'm sure there will be times where things have worked out. And if you think about it hard enough, you would have had that sort of plan or that thought way back. And then it's usually the ones that we forget about. And that's where we don't have any resistance and they come to be. Okay. All right. So the whole point of that story was to just remind you guys. So clarity is the first step. Once you know what happiness looks like for you, all right, not anyone else, what does it look like for you? Then you're going to start noticing opportunities that align with it, okay? It's like your brain switches. It gets that happiness GPS switches on. It allows the law of attraction to bring you what you want, not what you don't want. Your RAS, for you scientific people out there, it switches on. And so it filters out the things that you don't want, that filters out the things that you're focusing on, and allows you to see. Filters out what you don't want, allows you to see what it is that you do want, okay? All right. So remember, guys, your happiness isn't a destination. It is a direction, okay? So get clear on what direction you want to go, and let's start moving in that direction, okay? So thank you so much for tuning in. Drop a little love heart in the comments. Share something that brings you happiness. Let me know if you've got any questions. I would love to hear from you all. And I'm going to leave you with a quote. I don't know who said this quote, but what they said is, do more of what makes you happy. And I think that's a great advice. It's great advice, because when you are happy, you are rippling out happiness to everyone else that you come into throughout your day. All right, everyone. Thanks very much for joining me. Have an amazing day. I will see you guys on Wednesday. And we're going to get clear on your money goals. Okay. All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.